Hi, everyone. I want to tell you a story about a BC-based online rental business that has advanced its users' experience. I'm Grant Jurgenite, co-founder and VP Business Development for Checkfront. Checkfront is a SaaS-based booking platform for tours, activities, rentals, and rustic lodging. We're a team of 86, headquartered in Victoria, British Columbia, with over 4,500 customers in 128 countries. Today, I'm joined by Dean from Kootenay Outdoor Adventure Rentals and Tyler and Brandon from B4 Innovations. Dean, can you tell us a bit about yourself and Kootenay Adventure Rentals?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Great.
Yeah, so Kootenay Adventures came up. I love the outdoors. I'm from Vancouver, but I would go up to the Kootenays for probably 20 years, hunting, enjoying the outdoors, and I wanted to spend more time up there. And I was just trying to figure out how I could spend more time. And then I kind of got into the idea of the rental business because no one else does it up there. I think there's one other company that does some rentals, and they only have 2 units, and it takes 3-4 weeks to get on those units just because of the backup. So I just started putting it together, started doing research, what's close, what's far, what's available. And we're just coming up with nothing. You Google, no, nothing. So I hummed and hawed, and just one day I punched the clock and just said, okay, we're going to do this. And then, so what had happened is I didn't really, because I'm in Vancouver, I didn't have anybody up there. Obviously I needed a partner, somebody to be up there running it full time. So we were building a cabin, and Matt, who couldn't unfortunately join us today, great hard worker. And he loved it up there once I brought him up, and he wanted to live there. So I approached him with the idea and brought him aboard as a partner. And then we went hard at it and just started. And then, to go on, then we started purchasing the vehicles, and then I was introduced to Tyler. And then that's when the whole web started to get built.
And so prior to that, you didn't have a business set up or a website. That was starting the website from scratch?
Yeah, no, nothing. No, it just like we really, I think January is when I decided I was going to go for it and just do this. And then when I got introduced to Tyler, then I started giving the idea, and they just made my idea onto the screen. So we met before that.
And Tyler and Brandon, can you introduce yourselves and tell us a bit about B4 Innovations?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Tyler, and this is Brandon, and we founded B4 Innovations a couple of years ago because we've always found, I've always worked in technology, and we just wanted to be able to help exactly people like Dean, being able to take an idea or a concept for a business and really allow the technology to get out of the way, and to not be sort of a big, cumbersome, scary, intimidating thing. And that's how we started our business. And then, getting introduced to Dean, it was great because he had this concept, really excited about it, really passionate about it. And one of the things that we really liked is that we were kind of given free rein to just say, hey, here's the idea, here's the concept, here's a loose concept sketch, run with it. And so over the last, couple of months, we've taken that and done a few iterations back and forth with Dean, and we really worked this thing out. And I think we've got something that's pretty cool here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, personas and user stories, I think, really help guide Checkfront in developing, its improvements and features. We're made up of company details, like snapshots of who is using Checkfront and what they're wanting to achieve. Do you find that's how you guys approach this, or?
Yeah, I would say what we always focus on is meeting with our clients and figuring out where they want to go and figuring out what the first steps are to get there. And one of the big things that we always focus on is making sure that we listen to the customer and put whatever the customer or client wants as priority number one. And then we guide the direction with different technology pieces, and kind of almost just, like Tyler said, get the technology out of the way, figure out what the client's passionate about, figure out what direction they want to go, and just figure out how to get them there. And that's kind of our ultimate goal, is just getting a client to where they want to be from a business standpoint, and just realizing whatever big business plans that they have.
Yeah, and staying true to those values, I think that's actually how we discovered Checkfront. Was because one of the critical features, and through discussing and working out the logistics of this business with Dean, we realized that pretty much every booking platform that exists out there books everything for the same dates within a single cart. So you could book a cabin for 2 weeks, and if you wanted to have a jet ski for 2 days, well, you wouldn't have that granular capability without going through that booking flow twice. So that's something that we really, really loved about Checkfront. It was literally the only platform we found that had that capability. So we
that was a must to make the program work, right?
Absolutely.
Because all of your rentals are bookable on multiple days, right? And so one customer might book multiple things but not need them all for the same duration.
Exactly. So what happened was, and sorry to interrupt, but it was just when you book something, the way the system was, everything would be based off the same dates. So, you're punching away, hey, I want this. All of a sudden you've got a bill for $20,000. And I think the format wasn't quite working. And then that's when Tyler went to Checkfront, and then things started to really come together.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that? Your process for, finding a booking system?
So we when we were trying to review something for customers, like we try to start from scratch every time. I think oftentimes we can go to that old hat, right, and keep beating the same drum. So if we have a solution that works, great. But for each client, we like to do a fresh review. So we took a really broad search. We spent a number of weeks going across a number of booking systems, taking into account various factors like integration capabilities. Pricing, of course, was a factor. User experience was literally number one. And so we had arrived at a particular conclusion earlier on and used it as more of a stopgap solution to try to see if this was going to work. But then as we started to review and really, again, focusing and thinking back to that user experience, we found out it's just not going to work. We absolutely have to be able to book each product with its own set of dates. Especially in this business, because in this particular business, we're combining not only unit rentals, but actually accommodation as well. And so when you have sort of we've kind of found that like when you have a mixed product set like that, it actually makes a lot more sense to be able to book them on a more granular basis rather than everything in the cart gets the same dates. And so that was the real wave that we discovered Checkfront.
I see. And can you comment just on maybe the top 3 or top 5, or how wide was your search and like numbers, and maybe the names of the top ones you found?
I think we went through about 5 or 6 different products or software solutions, and I think the one that we started on with this as a stopgap solution that we were a little bit happy about because they had some good integrations and embeddable products and a good WordPress integration was Bookable. But they had a lot of shortcomings when it came to the backend database, how they organized products, how the products were displayed was very rigid. Then we went and looked at a couple more companies. I think we had Easy Rentout was one. There was also another company called Zuria, but all of them kind of fell short. They all did things well, but they also had a lot of shortcomings that really ultimately led to us having to continue our search. And I think every single one of the companies on our list, like Tyler said, did not have their booking cart done in a granular way where you could have different dates for each product. That was ultimately what led us to Checkfront. But once we came to you guys and we saw how well thought out your platform was, all of those shortcomings that were inherent in some of those other softwares were like quickly and easily configured out of the way with Checkfront. There was a few things that we went through that we had to talk to support about, but once we kind of got on the same page and worked through those problems, the Checkfront platform as a whole really checked every one of our boxes when it came to a booking platform. Those other competitors that you guys have, I think, do things very well, but they do have a couple of holes in their product offering where they could probably fix them pretty quickly, but they're just not listening. And that was another thing that we liked about Checkfront was the support.
Yeah, we obviously with any new product platform you're going to be using, there's obviously a learning period there. And so one of the things that we absolutely love too with Checkfront, and ultimately I think it's how we got in touch with you, Grant, is just how responsive everybody was there in terms of support, and how approachable everyone was. I mean, simply just by emailing you, we got in touch, even with yourself, and that was something that you can't say for every company.
Yeah, thanks. We aim to please. Being consumers of digital goods ourselves, we like it when we get good support. So we try to focus on that for our customers and our customers' business. I know that you guys, when you first approached me, that you guys are aware of some BC programs for funding. Did that come from you, Dean, or did you, Tyler and Brandon, did you guys find that, or how did you come across the funding?
Yeah, we actually try to find solutions for all of our clients. And I mean, unfortunately, in this particular case with Dean's business, because it's a new business, it wasn't eligible for the one particular grant that we were looking at. But we try not to be just considered like the website guys. We do try to take a more holistic approach when supporting our clients. And that goes right back to, challenging business processes and just having the courage to not go, well, that's the way we've always done it. So that's something that we always try to bake into every single project or every client that we take in. And that's how we discovered the funding. I mean, I think the launch online was a great platform to be able to add, or great funding opportunity to be able to add e-commerce to an existing business. That was just, not eligible in this case, but we of course wanted to keep that in mind for all of the future clients that we look at, and of course, like with tourism, and there's a lot of other programs that we're always exploring. So,
yeah, I think you're referencing the Launch Online program that was online, and I know there's another, the BC Resiliency Network, which I think potentially, but they do have a lot of criteria that you do have to meet. So, understandably. If it doesn't meet it, we like to hear firsthand about operators in their industry, just because we're a bit removed from it. What do you think some of the biggest challenges for business are in the space when it comes to, taking and managing your bookings online?
Well, I mean, looking at this vertical in particular, I think the biggest challenge is creating a steady pipeline of rentals throughout the year. I mean, there's always going to be last minute bookings, but to ensure we don't see like huge peaks and valleys in revenue streams is something that I think keeps us up at night. So having a strong multi-channel marketing approach helps, working collaboratively with other local businesses. And I think that's sort of the lead that's been buried in 2020, building relationships with other local businesses. Kootenay OAR has a number of partnerships and more in the works. And I think this is something that we really strive for at B4 as well, because like we really believe strongly in that this is a major component, especially this year. And we're excited to be working with Checkfront as an example of another BC business.
Yeah, as are we. Well, outside of taking bookings, what role would Checkfront play in day to day? Is there a way to provide like a snapshot in the life of a frontline operation staff?
Well,
what are some of the wins maybe that you get?
Well, I think with moving forward, as everyone part of Kootenay OAR gets familiar with the platform, I think it's going to be Dean and Matt really getting advantages from the inventory standpoint of being able to track and manage maintenance schedules, things like that with their equipment, being able to put in different notifications and different things to allow for the inventory management, not just distribution of rentals, but also for maintenance schedules and things like that. I'm sure Dean could talk to it a bit about the day-to-day of managing equipment rentals across such a wide product catalog.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I started in the film industry right out of high school, and I built quite a successful company in the film industry. We have over 100 trucks. Now, I know a little bit about maintenance. It's huge. I have a 4-person team in my office, just, dealing with picture cars, trucks, and paperwork. It's constant. Now, Kootenay OAR is a little smaller, but I mean, you're also dealing with individuals who may not understand how to run the gear when you rent them out. So, there's a check-in, there's a check-out, replacements of parts, oil changes. The list goes on. You just have to keep on these things. It's an everyday. So, to use the website for this, the oil changes, insurance, these are all things that you can input, and then reminders, but a lot of it is visual too. You have to see the gear when it checks in, checks out. Now it's all online too. Your check in and check out, which is great. The way the boys built it, it's amazing. It's just amazing. And then when in April, when you go through the site, you'll be able to see all these things. It's just the creativity to this site was awesome. So when I gave my vision, and I'm going a little bit off track, the first page I got back was what you see here with the run. I said, this is where I'm going to be. And they did their research in mountains and trees, and a river that's running. Amazing first page when you first go on it. I just love that. And then we go, that was awesome. Okay, let's go for it.
And I'll add to that, thinking about some of the real wins that Checkfront provided us. I think having sort of a single dashboard to handle all aspects of the business is really critical. Like things like signing waivers, like that's a huge deal in this kind of business, right? So, there's a lot of niche services out there. I'm thinking of providers like DocuSign that do what they do really well, but can create sort of other challenges in day to day. Someone like Matt or Dean having to deal with multiple logins on multiple sites. It adds inefficiency there. So I think when it comes to, people like us, like in the technology space, it's something that we often overlook because they feel like necessary evils. But, when we like to challenge ourselves and find ways to avoid things like this. And I really think that that's where, when we look for technology partners, something that Checkfront really does well. And so that's why we've loved working with the platform, is because we haven't had to go and piecemeal this together, because I think that's something that takes care of
so much. It really does. You can really do 99% of what you need to get done to get that rental happening from the Checkfront format that we're using, which is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Well, are you able to tell us a little bit about like your average customer, and what do you think they're looking for when they come to your site, or do you have a lot of drop?
The thing was as easy as possible. You don't want to complicate things. You want people to go on, do a rental just quick, because here's another thing. If you're in that country, you're not necessarily set up with a computer. You're out there. Hey, we're camping. Hey, what do you guys want to do tomorrow? Hey, let's check if there's ATV rentals. So we wanted a good system for an app on your phone, or be able to just use it on your phone as easy as possible too. And I think we accomplished that. It was a lot of work for the boys, but we accomplished that. So that was one of the major things. Simple. So anybody can just go on it and rent a piece of gear.
Yeah.
Great.
Simple has always been a focus for us, and obviously, again, user experience. If we're at any point forgetting user experience, and we're building something because it's more expedient for us, or because it's easier from a development standpoint, then we're really missing the mark.
Yeah.
It's just really not what we're in the business of doing.
Well, and certainly this this interview is in that spirit, to understand a bit better, the needs of the operators, so that we can build, better software. And I guess on that, like as a partner, then, what has offered the most value in your partnership with Checkfront?
I think being able to speak with so many people on the support staff, and feeling like part of that Checkfront family, I guess you could say. We'd like to thank you, Grant, for being so approachable and helping us find the right solutions for our clients. And I think, the sense of accessibility has also made this process really friendly and smooth for us. We didn't at any point feel like we were dealing with a huge faceless corporation, like Google or Facebook, which, try and get those people on the phone, right? We've been able to speak with folks in your development team and challenge some of them, I think, about why things are the way that they are. And this is something that we really value. because we feel like we need to change the way things are done necessarily, but more so that we can get a better understanding of the thinking that went into producing, your product and why it is the way that it is today. We never like to assume, so sometimes asking seemingly obvious questions can help us better understand how we got here in the first place.
Yeah, and ultimately, I think when two companies work together like this in a partnership, I think it really allows both companies to grow when they kind of almost challenge each other. It's looking at processes from a new perspective is what me and Tyler always try and do. Because what it does is it just goes like, okay, well, explain your thought process on building out, this part of the platform the way that you guys have done it. And those explanations breathe a lot of life into working on new innovations or new ways to kind of configure it or use it in a new way that maybe everyone hasn't thought of before. And it can kind of really come into like different, ultimately it just comes down to a better overall experience for the end user. And that's the goal for any technology, is the people that are actually using it having the smoothest, simplest interaction. It's being able to figure out what they want and how to get them there in the easiest way. And that's why I think as a partnership with Checkfront, doing exactly that is helping both us, me and Tyler, grow as technology consultants and helping you guys grow as well as a software provider. It's a great partnership.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. It's been very great working with you guys and all of the feedback that you have provided. Certainly, there's many ways to do things and getting insights from people who are taking the time to dig in and, really leverage, the API. We're always keen to support and get engaged with the developer community. So thank you for that. And I guess that would kind of lead to, in what configuration setting do you see your next implementation of Checkfront being used?
I think now that we've sort of been made aware and we've really done our research on rental booking platforms, I definitely see us, recommending Checkfront in the future. I think there's a lot of possibilities within the tourism industry. And then, and more broadly, a lot of other rental businesses that could benefit. It's even actually occurred to me more recently, since we last spoke, that, with virtually no modification, this would also be suitable for something like a dance studio or some sort of business where they actually offer sessions and classes and need to deal with staff and room allocation management. So these are just some of those sort of creative ideas that we're trying to think up, maybe where we can apply your technology. There's been a ton of things, and I think I think when we start looking at integrations, this is a really important piece of what you guys are doing. And so we certainly want to see and help you guys and be great partners in continuing to build out those integrations and making sure that, we're not leaving people behind. I think I think we offer, or we have a fairly in-depth understanding of how to maybe take advantage of an API or something like that, but that may not be true for every rental business. And that may not be true universally. So I think that's something that we want to continue to help build out, is find ways to integrate Checkfront in a seamless way for folks, so that they can feel that it's going to be really approachable to tap into what they're already doing. So, in our case with Dean and with Kootenay, we had a blank slate. We had a fresh, we didn't have a website to work with. So, but for somebody maybe has an existing site, how can we help them integrate that in a way that, doesn't require lines of code?
Yeah, and I think one of the big goals for the future is adding within any product an inherent flexibility. So the more flexible you can become as a software solution, the more customers you inherently have. So what me and Tyler really focus on is using some of the biggest technologies in the environment and seeing how rigid those are in different configurations. And one of the big ones that we do use on a couple of our sites, or a lot of our sites actually, is WordPress as a CMS. So moving forward and working into some more realized integrations with WordPress, doing some embeds, some different widgets, kind of having maybe more granular access to certain components within the Checkfront platform. I think those are things that not only are going to help with, like Tyler said, existing sites and just having a quick switch over of an already completed WordPress site to the Checkfront platform, but attracting new customers and more, for lack of a better word, innovations, right? Getting new people in here who necessarily wouldn't take a crack at building out a full booking platform like Kootenay OAR, giving them a chance to use your guys' technology, see where it fits, see these new opportunities, like Tyler said, like a dance studio or something that maybe none of us are even thinking about, an industry that none of us are even aware of that could use this platform, and giving them an opportunity with very little friction or very little obstacles to implement a solution that I think is not, the only thing it's going to be is beneficial for everyone involved, because it's going to allow for that flexibility to grow from Checkfront as a platform, and also everyone who's using it just coming up with new ways to utilize it.
Yeah, and enabling those do-it-yourselfers, right? I think there's a lot of folks that want to take a crack at building their own site and do things like that. So if it's super easy and effortless to be able to pull a system like this in, I think that's just going to open up a whole new world of possibilities for Checkfront.
And I think that being said, I think, yeah, using Checkfront will definitely be a tool in our toolbox for years to come, because we were very excited for the response we got, not only from you, Grant, and your support team, but also just the usability and how I think Kootenay OAR actually came out as an implementation. I think everyone involved is very happy with how that worked, and we have nothing but nice things to say about Checkfront because it's an amazing platform.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That's great. And I would like to, I know we're coming up on time, but we'll certainly have to carve out some time for you guys to do a walkthrough of what you've created here in the platform, and show off the cart and the booking flow that you guys have created. So we'll have to make some additional time for that. And I know, Dean, you're probably coming close to time, so I don't know if you have anything additional you want to share, with our team. We're very keen to track your progress through the summer, and ideally come out and rent some of your gear as we progress into the winter. So thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time and telling us, enlightening us a little bit about how this came to be. And as well, Tyler and Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. If anyone has any additional comments, we can post those up, or maybe join us live for a Q&A.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Grant. Thanks for hosting this. Yeah, and we're more than happy to join the Q&A later. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, we'd definitely love to hear them, because we're the guys who always ask a lot of questions, but we can also answer them as well.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Grant.
Thanks, Grant.